Hello, and happy Friday. It's time for the Security Token Show, everybody. We're your hosts. I'm Herwig Konings, joined as always with my co-founder, Kyle Sonlin. How are you?
Oh, yeah. What's up, dude?
This is another great week, huh?
It is. We have seen just some incredible momentum from a lot of the slowest moving institutions in our world, particularly in the regulatory space, but also just across the board. Major adoption happening, Herwig. Every week we seem to say that, but every week it gets better and better.
Not a dull moment. There's no going back at this point. The markets are alive and well. New issuances, new movements. I think it's a great time to get right into the market. So let's hop in with Nico.
Let's do it.
And what a market movement we have this week to talk about. Of course, joining us, we have Nico Pantelis, a partner at Blue Bay Venture, a prominent RWA-focused venture fund, and coming out from Dubai. Nico, how are you?
Good. How are we feeling, gentlemen?
Wonderful.
Great. Historical, because Congress, for the first time ever this week, as I'm sure you all saw, held a hearing, a subcommittee hearing of the Financial Services Committee, but a hearing nonetheless, where we had several prominent industry figures, including the CEO of Securitize, Carlos Domingo, go to Washington and explain exactly what real-world asset tokenization is and how to stay on top of it. Common themes that we've talked about all on the show here, of course. The opportunity, Carlos actually talked about the opportunity, of course, that the U.S. has, and that the foreign markets will catch up with this technology if we don't have smart policy. That was a common theme across the board, of course, is that we need policy, and that there was a clear confusion still around what a blockchain and what a public blockchain is. All of us have faced this for the past 7 years. We've been doing this in security tokens. Gets confused with crypto, the how the term blockchain versus public versus private gets interpreted. This was an opportunity for the industry here to kind of establish standards and what the differences are. And I think they all did a very good job sort of explaining what it was. What do you guys think about all this? Any takeaways from anything that they had said, or any sort of macro, what you think this might lead to sort of situation?
Herwig, for me, it's finally a moment where you see that the government in the US is starting to really listen to this industry. That's very important. I think we saw that government coming to the industry, tokenization industry, 2 years ago in Europe, and they've worked out various things in Europe which are very fun for the industry at large. And now that these politicians in the US are open to look at this new field, this new industry, it's just great. This is what needs to happen. And also shout out to Carlos for that great stuff there.
No, you're spot on, Nico. I mean, Carlos is here in Miami. We're proud to be, he's a friend of the show and a friend of the company. And every time that we sit down with him and talk with him, he's very matter of fact. He's very sharp. Mm-hmm. He's very assertive, and he knows his positions and is very educated on those recommendations. I think he's a fantastic representative for the industry because he will give his very pointed feedback to the regulators in a way that is curt in a way. I think that's incredibly effective. Some of the highlights of his recommendations included clarifying definitions, which Herwig, you and I have talked about here on the show so many times, just even having clarity on what definitions we're talking about with respect to these assets, as well as expanding some of the legal frameworks that exist today, like the special purpose broker-dealer that we saw Prometheum get approved for, but nobody else approved for, as well as ATSs and them being able to expand their services and how they interact with the rest of the ecosystem, and transfer agents, all these different components, which are pretty fragmented still still, whereas in the blockchain digital asset space, a lot of that is pretty streamlined. And a lot of those services can be offered by one individual counterparty or one individual issuer. So making sure that we kind of clean up a lot of that makes sense to me. And great to see, to Nico's point, that they are listening and that they hopefully will begin to see that there is a clear distinction between crypto and securities. And that's part of where I've been frustrated and expressed it on the show with a lot of the enforcements from the SEC, is that they haven't made the distinction, and there pretty clearly is a distinction. Whether or not you feel how you feel about their compliance or not, they are very different assets, and we need to treat them as such.
Yeah, and also I want to add on, Kyle, that you need these the government and the politicians need to see that this is ship being steered by these new leaders, and that this is the real deal, and that this is in safe hands with these new operators. We need more people like Carlos speaking out for this new industry, because this is the future for the financial industry.
No, and Carlos did do a great job also stressing that like public blockchains can still support KYC, compliance, all the enforcement needed for, using this technology in capital markets properly. So I think they were heard. We also heard from USDF, the CEO, Robert Morgan. He talked about and stressed about how payments and deposits work. So not just on, sort of capital markets and stocks, but also bank deposits and just in general, making a more efficient banking system. Nadine Shakar, who, now is the head at DTCC for digital assets. She did a great job also explaining, like Carlos, the differences and why we need good policy and adoption. There was also a professor of law, Hillary Allen, who spoke about this. Always a little skeptical when the professors come out and talk, and when they're really just, in my opinion, just sort of watching and learning a lot of the time. But anyway, she mentioned that, that public blockchains are fragile, and therefore we should be concerned in regards to potentially this technology, and have to have smart approach.
Yeah.
Well, maybe valid,
but we need some critics too. This is how we grow up. This is how we become a big industry. This is it.
That's right. Yeah. Varied perspectives are important.
Totally agree, which is why we had Congress hear from a lot of different great voices to go ahead and just push through the message that this is a different technology, a different sector of crypto. And it looks like now real world assets is here to stay. And moving on, we saw a big headline. Ondo Finance officially broke 500 million in TVL, total value locked. In my opinion, I prefer the traditional term AUM, assets under management. But that's a potato. What do you guys think of this? We saw Ondo soaring. They have their OUSG, their OUSY, and it is killing it clearly as one of the biggest managers in the space now with these products. Just two, both respectively doing very well in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And we know that, of course, their OUSG product is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, holder of BUIDL, or backer of LP and BUIDL. So very, very interesting stuff here. Any takeaways on Ondo and their progress, guys?
Yeah, their TVL is up 43% in the last month. So they have absolutely been flying. I believe, and I'm not sure with their new capital, but I believe that they're parking a significant portion of this right into BUIDL. So they're essentially acting as a retail feeder fund into the BUIDL fund, which makes sense. And I guess they just take a little cut of that transaction. So I would be interested, just as an investor, to see like what their actual margins are on this AUM, right? Because if they're taking it and then putting it into another fund, I'd be interested to see what the economics look there. And maybe there is documentation available. I haven't seen it, or maybe that's something that they keep internal. But it's fascinating to see how these fee structures play out. But there's no doubt about it. They're a huge net positive for the industry. As we talked about, there's not that many solutions to get yield on your tokenized dollars. So treasury funds and these types of money market funds act as one of the safer ways to generate real yield, 5%, 6%, whatever it is, 4% on your crypto dollar in a way that's not necessarily speculative. because we've seen how speculation has just blown out different lenders. This type of money market fund, hopefully, will not necessarily have the same fate.
Yeah, big respect for the team at Ondo. This is, they're showing our industry that playtime is over. You need to talk to the big guys. They're interested hugely. You can see that at the volume that they're onboarding over there. This is a multi-billion operation. You can see it. It's even happening, I think, within the coming months, even maybe, that we're crossing billions already. So just amazing what these guys are doing. And I would say to all the teams out there in the RWA space, look at what Ondo is doing. This is the way forward. This is it.
They have an amazing technology and infrastructure, but they also have an incredible community. They have the highest performing, crypto token that's exclusively, dedicated to RWAs, right? A lot of chains that support RWAs may be bigger, but they, to me, are the biggest RWA token out there. That on the crypto side of things. And so it's an incredible success story. I can't wait to see them continue to 10x, 100x, and go beyond that, I think, in TVL. So
listen, guys, these are the new stable coins. Huh? This is the next part of the evolution of this industry. We had stable coins, now we get RWAs on a large scale, multi-trillion-dollar economy.
Yeah, and compliant yield. Like, it's no longer having to deal with rehypothecation like we see with BlockFi. And
no anonymity anymore. Just, that every trade is legit.
I just got my
BlockFi
settlement in the mail like a week ago for like $12 or something like that. Like 4 years later,
done. Over with this nonsense. We need to step on the big stage, the main stage, and start playing with the industry. This is what it's all about, and Ondo is showing it.
Totally agree. Another killer in the space, if not arguably also cool in their own way. Of course, I'm talking about Realty, who made some pretty big news recently that I think, again, should be talked about more, in my opinion. They have tokenized already a cottage boutique kind of hotel situation in Orlando with none other than Margaritaville, which is, multi-billion-dollar brand created by Jimmy Buffett, rest in peace, and just an incredible company that he built out of that culture and out of his music. But now it's on chain, folks. And I think that's pretty darn cool that not so many people are talking about. But what Realty actually did to go a step further is they are now doing another deal with Margaritaville, but this time, interestingly enough, their first foray into pre-construction. So they are actually going to be doing a bigger hotel in Panama with Margaritaville. But in this case, it's not built yet, which is a first for its community. I think they're usually, expecting to see different, kind of information around the properties and such. But I'm excited to see how this goes. It's a very significant size raise. And again, this is Margaritaville. This is a big brand. Again, I think this should be a prime example for RWAs, especially in real estate. We love St. Regis. We love what's going on in Aspen, and their cool stuff with our RSRV Reserve, right? But Margaritaville on chain, that's awesome. Realty is doing that now, pre-construction. You definitely should go learn more if you're interested in that. Of course, it's always sort of international only. But guys, comments on this?
First off, I'm from Europe. I don't know anything about Buffett. But I have to say that this is indeed the perfect fit for these types of operations, which are normally, from a financing side, difficult to do. It's very risky sometimes, these hotels and these leisure operations. From a real estate angle, hotels are difficult to fund. That's one thing. So it opens up liquidity for these companies. On the other side, you have the investors, which are mostly never capable of investing in these types of very interesting and mostly also high margin, operations. Perfect, perfect.
Yeah. Margaritaville, despite the memes, is a hallmark American institution. And major shout out to their team. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's just fun. I think that this is, when you think about tokenized real estate, this is what I think everybody back when 2017, 2018, this is kind of what everyone thought tokenized real estate might be, where you'd have all these different properties, some that are iconic in different ways, and you'd be able to invest in all these different properties and buy specific buildings and invest in all these different things. Now, this isn't just real estate, right? This is also a hospitality group and whatever, but that really, I think, comes along with it, because Margaritaville is essentially the tenant for this underlying real estate property, especially because this is pre-construction. So this is, I think, what a lot of people envisioned real estate tokenization to look like in the future. And now we're starting to see that happen. So I think for that reason, it's exciting. This is an established brand. They do a ton of revenue. Like they have, Margaritaville has a very core niche of individuals. It's a very sticky customer group that likes and enjoys that environment. And if you want to hear Jimmy Buffett songs 24/7, you're going to love Margaritaville, Nico. So maybe you should go check it out. Maybe buy a couple tokens.
Maybe buy some tokens and get some perks. No?
Cheeseburger in Paradise, man. It's a classic.
And not their first again with Margaritaville. So who knows? Maybe Realty is going for the whole enchilada one day. Moving on, we got one last cool one I think worth talking about in the market, which is actually a football club, everybody. So Watford FC on Republic is selling 10% of the club, of course, as tokens to investors and fans, as they say. So the club itself is worth 175 million Great British pounds. So, that means they're looking to raise around 17 million or so. I think this is very, very cool. We've seen a lot in the past where we saw a lot of crypto tokens try to bridge the gap between fans and sports and other ways. But we've always talked about the holy grail of getting exposure as owners to clubs and to different leagues. And so this is the start. It's not going to be the highest profile club in the world, but this is still this is where it starts. And if they have a very successful offering here on Republic, it's going to attract more football clubs to do the same. And that's where the conversations with the leagues and the commissions can start to have about, creating, policy around tokenizing clubs and other things. Because, for example, we've seen this in the US with a lot of the other big, NBA, NFL and others. And they're not going to allow that for a second at this current moment in time. We even saw just how much in the past when Spencer Dinwiddie tried to sort of tokenize just his contract, not even anything to do with the team. And how much the NBA sort of reacted in a snafu. So it's going to take time, success stories, hopefully, like we're going to see with Watford FC. And pretty cool. I mean, I think everybody sort of, whoever is a fan of sports, whatever sport they like, loves the concept of one day being an owner of a club, right? So a fractional way might just be the best way to do it.
Herwig, for the US viewers, this is soccer, right?
This is soccer. That's a soccer. Let's be very clear.
There we go.
Football club, but we are not talking about American football here. Not today. Not for a while, I think.
Kyle, what are your thoughts, man?
This is an A+ use case for tokenization. It's great to see INX getting involved here. I think, or Republic, excuse me, but tied together there, I'm sure, in many ways. INX has already had announcements for doing tokenized soccer teams in the past. So presumably they already have a pipeline and a standard of operations to work with these types of organizations. Great to see Republic as a leader in the crowdfunding space to actually doing the brokering of this offering. Anybody that doesn't know Watford, they were in the Premier League, which is the highest league in England for many years. Recently were relegated to, I think, the division below. Now Watford is just outside of central London, so it is in a decent location geographically in England. And I think it makes total sense. We've covered this on the show many times. I mean, sports fans love being a part of their team. So it obviously makes sense from that regard. It's a very retail focused opportunity. It's great from a digital securities perspective because you can immediately add value to token holders and check that in an easy way to be able to drive value to those people in fan engagement, all that stuff, because we've seen fan engagement tokens from sports teams before. But without the actual ownership of the team, it tends to fall flat generally. So this is kind of the best way to do it. I also think soccer, especially European soccer, is the best sports team to tokenize to start because it's way more lax, in terms of who can actually own the team versus in the US. It's very highly regulated by the league itself on who can actually participate in owning these teams. Soccer, it tends to be a little bit more lax, as well as the fact that without a salary cap in the European soccer leagues, there is way more pressure on ownership to keep bringing in a ton of capital. And so having to open up new avenues to capitalize these teams, I think is going to be a very much growing reality for many of these small teams in order to try to compete with the larger firms that bring in a multi-trillion-dollar state, fund or something like that to back the team. We're seeing that at scale in the top leagues. Some of these smaller teams are going to have to do something in order to stay competitive. This seems like an amazing way to not only capitalize, but to tie them closer with their direct community so that if their performance isn't necessarily competitive with Manchester United, at least their fans can own the team and feel like they're a part of it and be a part of that success, as we saw with Ryan Reynolds and his team in one of the lower leagues as well. So I think that kind of fan engagement is really a key opportunity.
Yeah, this is a big industry, and this is large dollar-wise. I think in dollar or euro terms, whatever you want to see it in, I think Formula One is the biggest, and then next to that is European soccer. It's enormous, and you can also see it at the salary of these top players like Ronaldo and Messi. These guys are billionaires. It's enormous. So yeah, it's amazing to because these fan bases in Europe, I've seen a few. They're very intense and they're very committed to their team. It's like protecting your country. That's almost like that's what it's about. So engaging these people with their capital is very clever, in my opinion. But some clubs already did it in Europe with equity and stock listings. But the problem you have is that you can give this extra, let's say, in terms of perks or other commitments to these tokens. If you buy a token, you're more part of the team, let's say it like that. And that's, I think, the most valuable thing on that side. On the part of the companies who are bringing this to the market, Republic, lots of respect. These guys are showing how it's done and bringing assets to the market and risking assets to the market that no other company would ever touch. This is just amazing to see these guys front running everything and everybody on this side. On front of INX, by the way, INX was never mentioned in the press release I saw from Republic. So that gives me a bit of an idea that this acquisition, which was downplayed a few weeks ago by the INX team, is still running in the backside with Republic. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's kind of down. I sensed in the INX crowd that, Republic is doing the deal without the INX team, and the INX team sourced the deal. In my opinion, there's something else cooking behind behind the curtain. Let's see. The summer is going to be very hot, guys. That's what's coming.
As Coinbase likes to say, on-chain summer. It is coming, folks.
Yes.
It is going to be an RWA summer, by the way things are looking. New issuances every week, folks. New tokenizations, high profile, new players. It's incredible. We also have the Ethereum ETFs hopefully kicking off soon too, right? So just more and more interest in blockchain, in crypto, in RWAs. It's exciting times, guys. With that, any closing comments?
Waiting and enjoying RWA summer, guys. This is it. Let's do it.
Let's hope Congress heard loud and clear from that subcommittee and Fit 21 gets passed, so we start seeing some smart legislation.
Come on, guys, do it.
Come on. But in the meantime, the market's going to keep on pumping. The industry's going to keep on building. And with that, we got a lot more updates for you in the Token Debrief. So let's get right into it. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Kyle. And some cool news from Realty's Margaritaville and Republic's Watford FC offerings from the market movements there. But we've got more industry news to cover, starting off with Franklin Templeton's announcement supporting USDC. So similar to how you can off-ramp and on-ramp into BUIDL using STC, now you can do the same with FT's Benji. This is a big deal because I call it 100% liquidity, enabling token holders to cash out easily into USDC whenever they want. And as I've highlighted before, this is especially a big deal because Benji is a token product that anyone in the US can buy versus BlackRock's BUIDL, which is currently open to large investors. Similar to the CEO of Securitize remarks at the subcommittee hearing this week, Jenny Johnson, the CEO of Franklin Templeton, also warned of foreign competition to our capital markets using tokenization as their way to gain market share from us. This is an important theme that will hopefully push some legislation action. We also saw a bank out of Turkey, speaking of this, launch a tokenization platform this week. Mijon Bank, which is a neobank and investment bank, announced that an Avalanche-powered platform for institutions to distribute bonds, real estate, and equities in tokenized format, including to retail investors. The company highlighted the fact that they will have tokenized Euro bonds and Turkish sovereign bonds on the platform, and I think this marks the first RWA company in Turkey. Next, Building Inc. also announced a tokenization platform dedicated to real estate and creating data-driven assets, which I love that term. And they're based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but their parent corporation is in Hong Kong. And the company is getting ready to add to the real estate tokenization market cap with this new platform. So hopefully we'll get some news about their first offering soon. And real estate is clearly hot because we've got one more announcement, this time from Toronto-based Fractit, who is also entering the market, marking the first successful tokenization they did of a condo in India, actually valued at $235,000 US, totaling 235 tokens, which they call fractables or FNFTs. Fractit sold them obviously at $1,000 a piece to private investors, and they announced that they plan to expand their tokenization geography to North America, including targeting real estate in Toronto and New York City. Finally, to end the week, a bank in the UAE called Zank Bank announced a partnership with Mantra Blockchain. They've signed an MOU where they will collaborate on a tokenization platform for real-world assets, taking advantage of Zan Bank's licensing for digital assets in the UAE and in the Middle East, and Mantra's blockchain expertise, of course, to build a custody and exchange solution for RWAs. And that's it. A ton of new companies entering the space this week, it seems. You absolutely love to see it. Now let's find out if any of them won our Company of the Week. Kyle, it's another week of amazing news. A lot of great big hitters that we heard from the headlines here. So, of course, we have to pick one of those companies as our companies of the week that we thought they made the biggest move. They deserve our spotlight. And, of course, it puts them in the running for Company of the Year, which is, of course, one of the most prominent awards in the RWA industry. And so, Kyle, I want to kick it off to you this week. Who did you pick?
Episode 238, which means that we've picked like 500 almost companies for this illustrious award. And I got a new one for you, Herwig. We've got Watford FC.
Nice.
I love sports. I'm a huge soccer fan. I love all different business behind the sports industry, and it's really fascinating to see this retail public ownership of a sports team use case finally coming to market in the tokenization space specifically. Watford is tokenizing using Republic. They're doing a Reg D and a Reg S. It's like $120 minimum or something like that for shares of the team. They're raising, I think, like 17 million, something along those lines. And this is really, really exciting. Shout out to Watford. Shout out to the Republic team, everybody getting involved here. I talked about this quite a bit at the top of the show, so I don't want to repeat all of my same enthusiasm, but I do think this is probably the future, especially of soccer in Europe, because of their salary cap rules and their ownership rules. So because of that, Watford paving the way. We've seen this a few times theorized, but this is the first one that I can remember from a top-tier team, aside from Club Necaxa way back in the day that did the NFT ownership. This one is the first one for retail.
Yeah, I love this one because it's really being done the right way, right, Kyle? So this is groundbreaking. This is pioneering. Love that Republic is front running this. And I agree. This is the future of sports, and Watford is leading that way. So it's a well-deserved choice.
Yeah, way cooler to sports bet through investing in the equity value of the team than to lose your money on a prop bet.
I can't wait to see an active market of the different clubs trading. It'll be a whole new angle to this industry. It'll
For sure.
Cool.
No, it's such a cool idea.
Yeah.
How about you, Herwig? Turn it back your way.
Happy to share mine. My company of the week, I got to give it to what I think is one of the most respected companies in the RWA space. I'm talking about none other than Ondo Finance. You're my company of the week. At the end of the day, $500 million is no small amount of assets under management in this space. It's what makes you one of the biggest asset managers having that milestone. And it's just through two products where we know that this is just the beginning. They have, of course, their Ondo crypto token, their DAO token, I think it is. Needless to say, that's, I think, at around a $2 billion market cap. So they've done a really great job of, bridging the gap between crypto and traditional finance in this case. And they've done such a great job of it that they arguably might be one of the best in the industry, respected by their now $500 million in total value locked, which is, of course, means through their two products that they have that many investors and holders in those tokens. So Ondo Finance, my company of the week, congratulations on hitting that $500 million milestone.
That's another great winner. They've just been crushing it week after week after week, shipping products and delivering value. And a 43% increase over the last month means that they have not slowed down at all.
No, if they can keep that up, they will become the largest issuer in the space. And I love to see the competition in this space heat up, Kyle. We have a real and active industry now where I love covering this stuff, and can't wait to see Ondo win many more companies of the week if they keep crushing it like this.
Absolutely right, Herwig.
Well, Kyle, that's our show. Of course, everybody, there is, as we just said, constantly things happening, new issuances, new announcements, new companies. You got to go check it out. We're your source at stm.co, all your trading information, a lot of cool charts that you should check out if you haven't seen it. We have an amazing research platform. It's called Security Token Prime, securitytokenprime.com if you want to go to it. And of course, we love your feedback on the show. Send in your questions, send in your news. We'd love to interview people. As you can see on the show, we didn't get anybody this week. So please come out for that. And Kyle, of course, we hope to see you again next week on Fridays, right?
Yeah, you'll see me. I hope that we see all of our great listeners as well.
And with that, happy tokenizing.